From making a joke about something as serious as assault to being zooted out of consciousness on a live stream, here are Cenat's most controversial moments. Now, Twitch streamers are no strangers to scandals, but making light of an assault case, that isn't acceptable at all, especially because the guy accused of the violence is a close friend of Kai. And the incident happened at a party the famous streamer was hosting. In January 2023, TikToker Jovi Pena revealed that. She told Kai she was under the influence and wanted to leave and go home. But he advised her to stay at his house instead, where later allegedly, his friends subjected her to misconduct. Now you'd think Cenat would want to be more careful about how he acted after this, but sadly, no. Only a few days after the TikToker came forward with her heartbreaking story of assault, Kai and fellow streamer Your Rage were caught cracking jokes about it on a phone call that he was streaming to his audience. Talk about being insensitive. Your Rage warned Cenat not to get him to drink and said, "You know the last time people were drunk." Doesn't take a genius to figure out what he was referring to. Well, Kai was stunned at this and shouted out so loud it probably damaged a few listeners' hearing. And while that scream stopped Your Rage's joke from going any further, it did nothing to quell the fans with their outrage. I mean, what did they expect to happen? A lot of the Twitch viewers, and of course Pena's fans, were furious at this moment caught on stream, because thousands of people, including young impressionable minds, were watching, as the streamers implied that they found what happened to Pena amusing. And of course, Redditors were also quite disappointed in the whole thing, asking that if this is how they referenced such a sensitive issue live on stream, it makes you think, how do they talk about it when they aren't streaming? This wasn't the only time he was under fire for how he addresses women on his stream. That one blind dating moment was no less controversial. Cenat loves a blind dating streaming session, and that's alright. A lot of streamers do that, but you know what's not alright? Yelling at the woman you're on a date with, which is exactly what he did. The woman he was supposed to talk to was having some technical issues, and Kai started shouting at her, being mean to her while thousands watched live. And no, this wasn't spontaneous rage, or him being annoyed at faulty internet or anything. This was apparently his way to charm her, because he later explained to his audience that he was trying to take the aggressive approach. Why? Because he thinks a lot of women like it. And man, there are layers to why this made him look so bad, because only days before he made this comment, Jovi Pena accused him of covering up his friend's crime and not cooperating with the police. Then he goes and does this on his live stream. Imagine if this man had a PR team. They would be furious at him, because this comment did his reputation no favors. Safe to say, his aggressive approach charmed absolutely no one. And how could it? Because instead of trying to undo the damage that joke did, the streamer went ahead and did what many fans thought was him promoting violence against women, which is dangerous because Kai is the fastest growing Twitch streamer right now. Only by March 2023, he reached a record 300,000 sub count, which is crazy. So yeah, what he says and does has influence. And people online are furious at him for using his platform to spread these harmful ideas. Also, what makes it worse is that he usually collaborates with controversial guests too. Things like transphobia make their way to the live stream. Look, the way things work on Twitch is simple. With great clout comes no responsibility because, well, the more controversial the conversation, the more people are going to watch it. So when Aiden Ross and Kai Cenat have a chat, it usually breaks a Twitch guideline or two, like that time in November 2022. When the two streamers started commenting on two women's appearances, one of the two women had a deep voice and a strong physique. So the conversation became more and more intrusive, and both Aiden and Kai addressed her as him multiple times. But this wasn't even the worst part. The chat on the stream was. People in the online chat were making very problematic and offensive comments, and none of the streamers took a minute to stop their audience from saying all that stuff. No wonder the live stream fail Reddit thread about this was filled with people who were furious. They were mad because not only did the streamers drag the trans community into a random conversation, but also let so much hate brew in their live chat. Which didn't come as a surprise to many Redditors, because Aiden has always been a controversial figure, and has said things like, "There are only two genders, and it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve," on his live streams. Those are the least controversial things he's done, mind you. So you can imagine why people aren't thrilled that Kai collaborates with him so often. Interestingly though, the moment that got Cenat accused of homophobia didn't come from his joint stream with Aiden, it came from a random phone call from a friend. Yes, another phone call. Another problematic moment. This was when in February 2023, Kai decided to call a friend while he was live streaming. And this friend just casually dropped a homophobic slur in the conversation. Now, Kai was shocked, but his critics noted that it was only because it was heard by the audience watching. Not because of the actual slur his friend said, but there were also his fans who defended their favorite streamer, saying that the friend on the other side of the phone said, "Flag it." That's not a very strong argument, I must say. Also, at this point, he either needs to make better friends, or at least to keep their phone calls private. And speaking of things that must be kept private, he needs to get a room, or a bedroom to be more specific, because getting some R-rated PDA in a room full of people, while 100,000 people are watching you online, yeah, that's not acceptable. But Kai didn't care about that in February 2023 when he allowed the world to witness that, and had the fans slam him for not being responsible, when he knows that a lot of his audience are children. But hey, if you were one of the people who saw that live while it was streaming, worry not, your eyes don't need holy water. Because Kai says the woman sitting next to him was just resting her hand on his thigh like good friends do. Obviously, nobody bought that. So hopefully the streamer has learned his lesson, but having his friends rest their hands on his thighs isn't the only thing he'll make sure never to do again on stream. Like light fireworks indoors, for example. Yeah, that's also something he did. He had a firework war with his friend and fellow streamer Phantom. Their war kept getting crazier, and they somehow ended up with a huge firecracker in Kai's room. And well, Phantom lit the fuse. Thankfully though, they both ran out of the room before the firecracker caused multiple minor explosions, a small fire on the rug, and a ton of smoke in the room. Fans, understandably, didn't like this, because it seemed like both of them were making something very dangerous sound and look like a fun little adventure, which is not cool, especially when kids are watching him. But others didn't like it for another reason. It wasn't original. Another famous streamer, known as Speed, lit firecrackers inside his house before Kai did, and they think he did it better. But that's not to say that all of Kai's dangerous ideas are copied. The dirt bike thing was pretty original. Shortly after the firecracker thing, Kai came up with another outrageous idea, driving a dirt bike inside his room. And it was as crazy as it sounds, because a few minutes into trying to ride that thing inside the room, Kai crashed right into his streaming setup. This bike antic from him was funny though, but it was also against the Twitch guidelines because the platform doesn't allow for self-endangering activities to be streamed. Somehow though, Twitch let this one slide. Probably because he's done much better ban-inducing stuff before. Eating loads of edibles like candy, for example. This was in January of 2023, when, like many mere mortals, Kai made the grave mistake of underestimating edibles. He didn't think they'd work on him, and so kept munching on them non-stop. But the candies meant business, and after he stuffed himself with them, the streamer passed out on camera. This was followed by a ban from Twitch for a fourth time. The first two times he was banned for accidentally showing explicit pics on his stream. The third came after a feud of sorts, when there were rumors that Kai was going to go to a rival platform and the things he said were perceived as threats by Twitch. Then came the fourth because he was baked on a live stream. And there you have it. From being zooted out of consciousness to joking about an assault incident, those were some of the most controversial Kai Cenat moments.